Hello, my dear fellow travelers, friends and photographers. Welcome to Chris Lee Travel Channel. In these 8 episodes, I will bring you to Upper Hunza, which is also known as Goja. Here, we're going to face some very natural encounter, particularly to the glaciers that are found in these regions. But before you proceed further, it's important to know that the region that we are exploring in these episodes, the map that in front of you are the map of Pakistan, and we are actually still at the same region as per the last 2 episodes, which in a region classified as Gilgit-Baltistan. Now, in this beautiful province of northern Pakistan, and we are now moving from the middle Hunza to the upper Hunza regions. And we are lucky enough to put a couple of nights stay in this beautiful small little town known as Gulmit. Before you proceed further with this beautiful town of Gulmit, let's share some background about this town. Now, Gulmit is also known as Gulmit, right? It's a town that serves as a capital of the Goja district, also commonly known as the Upper Hunza. Now, in Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistan, Gulmit is a century-old historical town with mountain peaks and glaciers. Right? It's a tourist spot and has many historic places and hotels and shops and a museum for the visitor to explore. Now, Gulmit, at an altitude of about 2,500 meters above sea level, is the only town in the world where you can view the 5 peaks in the same regions. Basically, for example, the peak that we're going to be able to explore and view from this Gulmit will be Topopdan Peaks, right, which is 6,106 meters high. Spear Peaks, which is 7,611 meters high, and Gulmit Towers, which is about 6,000 meters, and also Kurums, which is about 7,143 meters. And all these peaks, right, as high and forming the beautiful skyline of Hunza Valley. Now, before the 1974, when Hunza was a state, Gulmit used to be the summer capital of the state. Right? After the abolition of the state, it became the Tehsil, or rather the district seat of governments. That the oldest intact house in Gulmit is more than 6 centuries old. In other words, you expect to see some of the houses is about 600 years old by now. Now, most of the people in the entire Goja Valley, or rather known as Upper Hunza Valley, have Central Asian ancestral backgrounds. Now, the people speak Wakhi language and belong to the Shah Ismani sect of Islam, or be generally known as Shia Islam, right, or Shia Muslim. They are Shia Muslim. Now, the population at Gulmit, according to the 2016 survey, that is around 5,000 individuals. Now, there are many forts and fortresses in the Goja Valley, and just to name some of them, such as Galandachi Fort in the Mishar Valley, and also the Bashid Fort in the Chiposan Valley, right? But Ondra Fort is the most prominent one that in this region. Unfortunately, in our journey to this place, we have missed out this Ondra Fort. Now, exploring the exploring the village, which is also including the visiting the cultural museum, the old house, the carpet weaving center, Gulmit Old Town, and sunset on Ondra Fort. Of course, we not managed to visit all, but anyway, I will share with you all my entire journey while I'm in this Gulmit town. Now, with virtually no rainfall during the year, I want to share with you some of the weather and climate in this region, just in case you are interested to visit. Now, the Gulmit features a cold desert climate. Right? By the word cold desert, it is deemed to understand that the rainfall in this region is very later. And the average temperature in the summer is only between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. And while the annual participations or rainfall averaged to only about 113 millimeter only. While in the November is the driest month, right, and with only 2 millimeter of rainfall, while May, the wettest months, have an average participations, as I mentioned just now, of 24 millimeter. Now, July is the warmest month of the year and an average temperature of about 21.8 degrees Celsius, while the coldest month is in the month of January, has an average temperature of minus 5.5 degrees Celsius. This is a general feel of the temperatures, the climate in this Gulmit. So let's move on with some of the image. Okay, now we are still focusing, visiting the place around the Karimabad, and of course now we are moving right slightly to the eastern south, right, to cover the one of the very beautiful valley known as the Hoper Valley, right. So this will show you a clear view of the location of this Gulmit town, and in relation to the other town in these regions. So let's look at this location map of Batura and Passu Glacier. Now, while we are in Gulmit town, this is something where I want you to focus on some of the mountain peaks that can be found in this township. And these are some of the scenery picture captured while we are roaming in this old Gulmit town. And we have actually a whole morning to roam around in this Gulmit town along in the countryside. Actually, in fact, there's not much population. It's quite a small population. As I mentioned just now, it's about 5,000 plus, probably now it's by 6,000, I'm not sure. But it's considered a very small populated townships. And as you walk around, or you can find that actually the whole townships is built right near to the river, the Hunza River. At the same time, you can see that actually they're surrounded by all the mountain peaks, as can be seen in some of these images, which I'm going to share with you. So while walking through, passing through some of the village lane, this is some of the scenery that we saw along the way. As our visit is during the autumn month, so we expect to see some trees leaves have started turning to yellowish goldish color, but it's still not at the peak of the season as yet. And you find that the building material are mainly built of stone, piled with stone and probably clays, as well as some of them use some of the timber. A mixture of all these ingredients all come from nature. So this is one of the straight view. I would say that the building here, the people here, the builders are very good in stone pitching. You can see that almost, be it be the building wall, be it be the retaining wall, all are mainly use of stone to pitch, right? And this is at one of the open area in the old town. So this is some of the building, and we does visit the old house, as well as we also visit the one of the museum, small little museum there. And I was told some of these houses are actually roughly of age of more than 500 to 600 years old. And you can see the carving that's found on the door jamb, and something quite similar to the Baltic and Arctic fort, which I've just covered in the last episode. And the people in the villages there are I use the word hyper friendly, and they greet us wherever we pass by, and they don't mind us taking picture of them. And also, it's harvesting season for apple, and therefore, as you pass around walking through the village, we found that some of the villagers are actually harvesting and packing the apples for sale. And somebody is getting married on that day as well while we're visiting the village. And we saw these two craftsmen. I mean, it's basically they are using chisels and hammer and slowly carve each piece of rocks into a square piece of rectangle piece of rocks, and can be seen from the background, at the background. And sorry, you can see that the insert here is some of the completed products which they have done. I was told that not many pieces can be done because everything are using just a hammer and chisel, bit by bit, and chisel odd shape of block into a well-defined size, right, of rocks, rock brick, I'll call them, all right. And this is some of the scene, and we also passed by a sawmill in operations. And while visiting these Gulmits, and also have opportunity to walk along the Hunza River, because the township is just next to the Hunza River. And this again is a scene that captured along the way. The weather there is quite cooling during our visit, as I mentioned earlier, that we visited during the autumn, so the temperature during the day hardly exceed 20 degrees Celsius. And for Malaysian, this is a nice weather, to us, Although we had to watch out for the UV light because that's due to high altitude. So you can see that this is some of the scene captured right next to the river, the Hunza River. And while walking in this river bank, and it's in the late afternoon, so I have actually, with my tour mates, decided to stop by and hope to capture the sunset. And I will share with you some of the pictures taken at the late hours of our journey during the day. But this is some of the scene at the late afternoons. So at this spot, we have a very beautiful background with the Passu mountain peaks right at the background, and what you can see in this image, and just next to this Unsa River. And at that time, we are about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and we are saying, so I was saying, oh, why don't we wait for the sunset? And also, we decided to sit right next to this riverbank and wait for the sunset to come. Unfortunately, we may not manage to capture a nice sunset scene, and this is some of the best scene that we can capture at about 5:30 in the afternoons. Generally, as mentioned just now, that during the winter months, is actually considered a dry season, and as just that you realize that the Hunza River have very little water flowing past by, and you can see that most of these riverbed are exposed. Now I will bring you to the first excitement of today, this travelogues of today, is actually to bring you to Hoper Glacier, right? And this Hoper Glaciers was located in a valley, they call it Hoper Valley, but let's see what we can get from this Hoper Glacier. Now, Hoper Glacier is also known as the Balta Glacier. Now, the difference of this glacier compared to another glacier that I'm going to share with you thereafter is known as Passu Glacier. This glacier, Hoper Glacier, is black in color, and while the Passu Glacier is white in color. Now, from the Karim-Abad to reach the Hoper Glaciers, it will take about 40 to 50 minutes drive on a four-wheel drive, and driving eastwards. It's slightly to the south of the Karim-Abad, southeast of the Karim-Abad. And the route is a single and somewhat bad at certain places. That means that the journey is quite challenging, but still okay. And only after a light trek, and you need to actually, of course, trek for only a short distance, and you will reach the top of a viewpoint. And this drive was quite scenic, and you're passing by through a couple of very cute villages, and tree and farming along the way. Now, and you have to do some climbing to a highest point on built flat platforms, and then if you want to see further of this Hoper Glacier, right, then you need to climb a bit again to the next viewpoint, right, nearby, just to get a better view of this Hoper Glacier, right? So this is where the scenery I'm going to share with you today will give you an idea of the Hoper Glacier. Now, so if you look at this map again, this map will show some of the major or main glacier that found in this Karakoram range, mountain range. And the Hoper Glacier was seen to be the first glacier, or rather the westernmost glacier of this Karakoram mountain range. And there are three other glaciers can be found also, as can be shown in this map. All right. So we are only visiting one glacier, the westernmost point of the glacier of this Karakoram mountain range. So we are going to visit, the place that they are visit is at the location marked as B, all right? And this is another map to give you a view of the exact location and the surrounding topography, and the area that is circled in red is exactly the location of this Hoper Glacier. This is a close view of this glacier, and we have to go to this viewpoint as highlighted in this map, and it's somewhere midway of the glacier. That means you can see the glacier from left to right. We are somewhere at the middle of the glaciers, all right? So this image is somewhere at the midway of the glacier. You can see this is taking using panoramic to capture it, and therefore you can see the image a bit distorted, but obviously you can see both on the left and right is the full view of the glacier. And the journey to this glacier is quite pleasantful. We need some walk, but still fine. As I say that you can't drive right to the viewpoint. There's need some walking and some climb, but the climb is very moderate and easy going, not that difficult at all. So you can look at this picture again carefully. On the rightmost side of the image, I will highlighted to you a so-called second viewpoint, and then I also shown you some of the path, a small little path, that's been formed on the rightmost, and basically you have to walk from this first viewpoint all the way to second viewpoint through this small little path, right? And this is actually the path, the viewpoint, and another view of that. And you notice that from here, if you want to get close to the glacier, you can go downhill, right? You just have to also walk through some of those path all the way down. But of course, the walking through this path is not that easy because it's very sandy, a lot of loose sand. The path is formed with a lot of loose sand. Therefore, walking can be quite difficult because it's quite sleepy in a way. So this is some of the view of the glaciers, and you can see that it's not exactly as what we mentioned, black. Only thing you can see that it's not white, but it's actually grayish due to contamination of the earth, all right, the soil below, causing the glacier to have gray in color. So people like to refer him as a black glacier. Some of image taken at a closer view and some at a distant apart. So manage to zoom in to get a much closer view of the glaciers. Generally, there's no restriction. One can also go down and stand right on the glacier. So the Hoper Glacier is supposed to be fastest moving glacier in the world. Now, as per the local guide, it moves a couple of inches per day, right? And then at the same time, while you are there, tea and coffee facility and food are also available nearby, both at the first viewpoint as well as the second viewpoint. You could also do some gym shopping or precious stone shopping at the store just next to the first viewpoint. So later I'll share with you the image taken at the second viewpoint. But whatever you see now in this screen is now all taken at the first viewpoint. This is on the left hand side of the viewpoint at the first viewpoint. And this as a back of the view, because the viewpoint was quite at a high level, so therefore you can have a 360-degree view of this Hoper Valley, right? And this is on the bank, parallel to this glacier, the viewpoint, or rather say the other side of the viewpoints. And this image will share with you is actually at the second viewpoint. You can see one of my tour mates is right at below at this flattened slopes of these mountains. and oversee the first viewpoint, alright, and as well the glacier is right below. So at this viewpoint, you can able to see further of these glaciers. And what you can find in the second viewpoint is this small little shop or F&B outlets that serve you tea and coffee only. And here, I would just like you to have a short video clips of these Hoper Glaciers. This is from the left, moving all the way to the right. Then you can see that the second viewpoint is right at the extreme right. And now I'm zooming in. So you can see some little buildings on the rightmost. And this is a view from the second viewpoint, again from left to right. And in fact, this is almost at the midway through, and this is a path that we're walking to from viewpoint 1 to viewpoint 2. In certain stretch, actually quite difficult to walk because it's quite slopey. And bear in mind, there's no handrail or guardrail. A miss of step, you are falling down. But of course, it's not very deep from this level to the glacier level. So now we move on to the next important area that I want to share with you. Is why we are traveling from the Karimabad all the way to this Hoper Glacier. Of course, there's some journey, quite a distance to travel, and along the journey from the Karimabad all the way to the viewing point of the Hoper Glacier, in this stretch, I will call it as a Hoper Valley, and in fact, this journey, this Hoper Valley is a scenic portion of the Naga Valley in the Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan. And it's about 10 km away from the Naga Ka, the capital of the Naga Valley, right? And over here, you also will find some lakes and also can find some animals. And in fact, these regions fall under a national park, right? Now, this is actually the mine, one of the mine, the only mine we've come across while passing through this on the way to this Hoper Glacier. You can see that they are mining deep into the rocks, and then they produce those marble blocks, in huge marble blocks, right? And it will then transport. I was told the miner is from China. And this is the view along this river, the Hunza River. So you can see it's very scenic while we are visiting during the autumn. You can see some of the tree leaf even have turned into goldish red color. I will then bring you to another glacier, and this is, as I earlier referred, as a white glacier as compared to the Hoper Glacier. And the against is for this Passu Glacier, to access to Passu Glacier is more challenging compared to Hoper Glacier, right? And I will share with you why I say so. Let's have a view of this Passu Glacier. Now, this is the location map of the two glaciers found in addition to other glaciers I just shared with you just now. It's actually Batura and Passu Glacier. Of course, our visit only cover Passu Glacier. We are not managed to cover the Batura Glacier. And the location where we are actually as shown in this map, all right? And we are just not far from the Karakoram Highway, and in fact, it's a short distance away drive from the Karakoram Highway to the point where we are start to change our vehicle into four-wheel drive and then continue our journey. So this is a closer view, all right, of the map. And you notice in this map, I'll share with you the three red points. Two of them have so-called, we start here and end here. And then at the same time, there's one, you can see that there's a H sign, it means it's a hotel. And then the next to hotel, you notice that I put the red dot as 1. But in fact, to share with you that in order to reach this Passu Glacier, to view this at the viewpoint of Passu Glacier, we have to go in this manner. We drive our vehicle, in this case a bus, all the way to a hotel, right? Next to this so-called the lake, you call it the Boreal Lakes, right? Hotel next to Boreal Lake, and then we stop there. And then from there, we change our vehicle to four-wheel drive. Then we continue our journey to the point highlighted in this map as start here. That is the start of the trekking. Then from the point 2 here in this map called point 2 is where shown start here. From there we have to do our trekking, and the trekking then all the way to the first viewpoint. That is actually the end here. Right. For some adventurous one, they can even go further, because you still can trek, and even you can trek across the glacier, the Passu Glacier. So the time taken for the trek all depend on individual body fitness. And as for me, I believe that comfortably, you need about 2 hours. 1 hour and 1 hour back. Through and fro, you need 2 hours. Right? So it's quite challenging for those who do not do trekking frequently. Right? The surroundings of the Passu Valley is very scenic, as can be seen from this image. And this is almost to the start of the trekking point, where we start our trek on foot, all right? And you can see that right below is the Passu Valley. Now from this image, you can see that the path is not a flat path. Actually, it's quite undulating path, and it's quite narrow. Only allow patches or person to the maximum of 2. And in certain places that the path was with paddle of rocks, and you have to step on the rocks. And some of these rocks are not very stable, so be careful, because once you slip, you'll fall right down into the valley below. So this is just some of the view of the trekking path that we took during the trek of the day. So this direction will show you the glacier flow toward directions, and at that far end is where you meet the Karakoram Highway. So this area is almost treeless due to high altitude, and you can see the path in this is here is slightly better. It's due to high altitude. I think it's quite exhaustive in the sense that because some of you may have faced breathing problems because due to high altitude. The air here is fairly thin. So this is an image of the edge of the path. So in this image, I highlighted the first viewpoint. You can see the first viewpoint already give you quite a good view of the glacier. But you want to go near to the glacier, then you have to walk further to the second viewpoint. And from there, you then cross over the glacier to the other side of the valley. And this image was taken along the Karakum Highway from the at the far end, and it's right at the center. You can see that the glacier are actually flowing toward the Karakum Highway. This is a much closer view of this Passu Glacier. And what you see now at the back of this mountain is called Passu Peak. All right, it's the name of this mountain peak is called Passu Peak, as can be seen in this image. And again, I would like to share with you short video clips of this Passu Glacier taken while during my visit to this beautiful place of Pakistan. And this point is quite high up from the glacier level. And I did mention to you that we actually stopped by and is where at this Boric Lakes where we change our vehicle from a bus to four-wheel drive. And what you see in this image, we are here now as shown in this map. It's just next to this Boric Lakes, and it's there we continue our journey, and what you see in this image is the Boric Lakes. You can only access to the Passu ascending point by four-wheel drive. These are scenery around these regions. And people like to refer this as the Passu Valley. So that will be the end of today, which I will share with you two of the most visited glacier in this region. Of course, there are many more glaciers you can find in northern Pakistan. So if you have a time, you can explore the other glaciers. But in the next episode, I'll bring you further north to the northern Pakistan, and we will be then moving to the borders between Pakistan and China. So please stay tuned in the next episode, and until we see again, please support this channel by subscribing and share to our friend and family. And I'll see you again in the next episode a week from now. and bye. Thank you.